Hey everybody, Dave Bleckman here with the Annapolis Photography Workshop Group, brought to you by Positive Negatives, and I want to welcome you to this week's edition of Free Weekly Wisdom, where every week I'm going to post some kind of a training video, and it's not going to come down on Sunday night. It's going to stay up for as long as we can keep it going. So no rush to watch it. You can go back and watch it as many times as you want. Now, I get asked a lot on how I import my pictures in through Lightroom, or I get asked a lot on how you should import your pictures through Lightroom. And I have a lot of people that come to me, they messed up their Lightroom and they want to get started all over again. They want to do it right. So I'm specifically talking about Lightroom Classic. And I'm going to show you how I import my pictures from my memory card to my computer, and I do it through the Lightroom Classic import module. And there's more than one way to do things. You know that by now. There are so many ways to do so many different things when it comes to editing. But what I want to show you today is what works for me. Now, I just got back from Longwood Gardens a couple of hours ago. I went up there with Kathy today. It was unbelievable. The weather was like in the low 80s. There was low humidity. That place is phenomenal. If you've never been to Longwood Gardens, you have to make the investment to go up there and spend some time. So I just took my memory card out of my camera and I put it in my laptop, and I'm going to show you how I import my pictures from my memory card to my computer. Now, I know some of you take your memory card, you download it to an external hard drive, and then you import it into Lightroom. And that is such an unnecessary step. You do it all at one time. So let me show you what we got here. If you look over here on the left-hand side where it says source, anything that's connected to my computer, I can import pictures into Lightroom Classic, okay? You can see I have 3 external hard drives that are currently connected, and then of course the C drive from my laptop, and up here is my memory card. So if I click on this, and by the way, the memory card will show up at the top and the bottom. It's up here and it's down here, okay? It's all the same. And once you click on the memory card, all your previews are going to pop up. And these, you know, I shoot in RAW, but when I shoot in RAW, and when you shoot in RAW, the picture that pops up on your LCD screen on the back of your camera is actually a JPEG that your camera made. So if you're only shooting in RAW, when a picture comes up on your LCD screen on the back of your camera, that's a JPEG that your camera makes. Well, if your JPEG is set for standard or vivid or something like that, your JPEG previews are going to look better than the RAW file, because whatever your camera is doing to that JPEG preview, depending on how you have your picture control set, it's not doing that to the RAW file. So what I do is I go into my shooting menu and I make sure that my shooting menu, my picture controls is set to neutral, not standard like your camera probably does when it comes out of the box, or vivid or landscape, or of course not monochrome because you don't want all your JPEGs to be black and white. But I do neutral. I want the least amount done to that JPEG. So when I look at the previews in Lightroom Classic, the JPEG doesn't look any different than the RAW file because I have the JPEG set for neutral and the camera's not doing anything to the JPEG. And of course, it's not doing anything to the RAW file. So here's all these previews that pop up from your card. These are all the JPEGs that your camera made. And when you import your pictures in through Lightroom Classic and all these previews pop up in the library module, those are still the JPEGs that your camera made. So once again, if you want those JPEG previews to most closely resemble the RAW files, and more importantly, if you want that JPEG that pops up on the back of your camera every time you shoot RAW, and you want that to most closely resemble the RAW file, then set your picture control, shooting control, whatever your camera calls it. You know, it's the menu that has standard and neutral and vivid and monochrome and landscape and portrait. Set it for neutral. So your camera does very little to that JPEG. So I can see down here that I shot 625 photos today. 17 gigabytes of raw files. And that's unusual for me because I don't usually shoot a lot. But when you go to Longwood Gardens, man, you just can't stop. It's addictive. So if you look here at the top, I have a choice between copy and copy as DNG. Well, a lot of you, if you haven't been around 8 or 10 years, you may not know what a DNG is or why there's even copy as DNG and what that even means. DNG stands for digital negative. And what happened was years ago, Adobe came up with this DNG, this digital negative, which is still a RAW file, but it's actually a smaller RAW file than what your camera shoots, but it's still a full-blown RAW file. And Adobe came up with this DNG, this digital negative, hoping that all the camera manufacturers were going to make their RAW files DNG too. So we had an industry standard. Everything was DNG. But as you know, your Canon camera has a CR1 or a CR2, and the Nikon camera has an NEF, and Sony has their own file extension, and Fuji has theirs, and all that kind of stuff. So the DNG thing never picked up. So I used to copy in as DNG, but not anymore. I just do copy. I don't do assisted culling. That's really more for people that are maybe doing weddings, and you can have the assisted culling eliminate blinks and out of focus pictures and things like that. And even that's not perfect. I mean, I still would rather do that myself. But let's talk about what I'm doing today. So I took my memory card out of my camera and I connected it to my laptop, and that's why it's showing up under source. It's aside from these extra hard drives that are connected to my laptop, here's my memory card. Okay, so here's all my previews popping up. Okay, now what I can do is I can uncheck any of these, which is another waste of time. Why would you want to go through, why would I want to go through 625 thumbnails? And you can make these bigger. Down here, there's a slider. I don't want to go through all these pictures and start deleting stuff I don't like or misfires or things like that. I'd rather do that later or just ignore it later. Look, storage is relatively cheap these days. I don't need to go through 625 pictures and delete 25 of them from importing into Lightroom Classic because it's not a big deal. It doesn't take up a lot of room. Okay? What's really important is the type of preview. So if you look in this drop-down box right here, we have minimal previews, embedded in sidecar, standard, and one-to-one. Well, what are they? Well, I'm going to bring this up for you real quick. And what I recommend you do is pause the video and read what these different previews do. Now, minimal previews, number one, minimal previews are the smallest previews and they import the fastest. So if I really want to get these 625 pictures loaded in, I'll go with minimal previews. Embedded in sidecar previews, I'm not going to read this to you. You guys can read it on your own. I typically do either minimal previews or standard previews. And lately I've been doing standard previews. Takes a little bit longer than minimal previews, but I don't have to import 625 pictures and sit here and wait for them. I can go ahead and hit the import button and go have an iced tea or dessert, and then I can come back and look at the pictures. So go ahead and pause this video and go ahead and read. It's really these four: minimal, embedded in sidecar, standard, and one-to-one. One-to-one previews take the longest to load in. In other words, every time it loads a picture and it's going to create a full-size preview. Well, if you go to your library module and you click on a minimal preview or a standard preview and it spins and says loading, what's it take, 3 seconds? So why would I want a one-to-one preview on 625 pictures when I can bring them up one at a time when I go through my pictures and find something that maybe I want to work on? But I'll also tell you this. If I imported 625 one-to-one previews, I might as well go to bed and come back tomorrow morning and it might be done. I mean, it's going to take a while. So anyway, go ahead and pause this video and watch and read about these different previews and see which one you prefer to use. Or maybe you want to import one type of preview one time and maybe try something else another time. You know, that's the beauty of digital photography and these programs. You can experiment. You're not going to ruin anything. You're not going to screw. If you pick the wrong previews, it doesn't matter because we are importing the pictures from our card to an external hard drive, and Lightroom doesn't touch those pictures. Okay, everything that we load into that external hard drive, Lightroom doesn't mess with them. If I import all my pictures on an external hard drive and I want to go ahead and make 50 of them black and white, if I go back to the external hard drive and look at those 50 pictures, they're still color. They're still untouched. Lightroom is what we call non-destructive. Whatever you do in Lightroom isn't going to screw with the original that's on the hard drive. And that took me a while to understand when I first got going with Lightroom. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm changing it. I'm doing things to it, but it doesn't change what's on your hard drive. So you can't mess this up. So pick the previews you want to try and try them. And if you want to try different previews another time, try different previews another time. So here we are back in Lightroom, and I'm going to go with standard previews, all right, and build smart previews. What are smart previews? Well, if you go back to this piece of paper, you can read about smart previews. It's number 5, okay? Don't import suspected duplicates. I checked this off. Now, what does that really mean and what does that really do? Okay, here's the deal. Let's say I shot these 625 pictures today. And I took the card and I put it back in my camera, but I forgot to reformat it. And I went out and shoot another 100 pictures of flowers tomorrow. Well, these original 625 pictures that I shot today are still going to be on the card, plus the 100 new ones that I shot. Well, if I forgot to clear my card, I don't want to import those 625 pictures all over again, along with the new 100 pictures that I shot. So by checking off don't import suspected duplicates, Lightroom Classic is not going to import the 625 that I already imported. It's going to recognize the file names. So it's only going to bring in those 100, okay? Or if I have the 625 from today and another 100 for tomorrow, if I go, instead of all photos, if I click on new photos, it will only show me the new 100 photos that I shot and not the 625 that I left on the card by accident. Okay? So don't import suspected duplicates. Don't import rejected images. So the rejected images are when you go through the culling now. And if you're a wedding photographer and you do the automatic culling and it eliminates all the blinks and all that kind of stuff, you can have it delete those rejected pictures. Okay? Just so you know. Make a second copy too. If you want to import these pictures onto 2 different hard drives, you can do 2 different hard drives at one time. Okay? Or sometimes when I travel, I'll make one copy on my travel. If you see over here, I have an external hard drive, which I call travel. So when I'm traveling, I take this external hard drive with me. So I put one copy on my external hard drive and I put another copy right here on my laptop. And once I get home and everything is safe and secure and I've backed up everything to the cloud, then I'll delete the pictures off of my C drive. You don't want to bog down your computer's hard drive with pictures. Everything should go in an external hard drive. I will put a second copy on my computer's hard drive when I'm traveling, just so I'm going home with 2 copies, just in case anything happens. God forbid something should happen to the external hard drive. I have everything on my computer. Then when I get home and I back everything to the cloud, I know I have multiple copies, and then I'll delete that folder off of my computer's hard drive. I don't want to bog down my computer's hard drive with pictures and videos and documents and all that kind of stuff. I put everything on an external drive. Okay, so I'm going to uncheck make a second copy because I'm in my office. I'm going to make one copy onto my external hard drive, my main external hard drive that I use. And by the time I go to bed tonight, or maybe a little bit later, everything's going to be copied to the cloud. And I'll have multiple copies. Now, what I do in my office is I put everything, I'll put everything on my my D drive. So you'll see it's my 2019-1. I started this external drive in 2019, and here it is 7 years later, and I still haven't filled it up. And then I have a 2019-2. So what I do is when I import my pictures and I put all my pictures on this letter D external hard drive, all these pictures instantaneously copy over to my E drive. So once I bring all my pictures in through the Lightroom Classic modules I'm going to show you, and I put them on my D drive, they're automatically going to mirror to my E drive. So I'm going to have 2 copies of everything on my desktop within an hour. And then both of those hard drives are going to copy to the cloud. So by the time I go to bed tonight, I'll have 4 copies of everything on the cloud. So that's pretty safe and that's pretty secure. Now, add to a collection. Yes, a collection is like a second copy of everything. And I'll talk to you about that maybe in this video or another video. So I'm going to add it to a collection. Now, I already have a collection here called Longwood Gardens. So under Longwood Gardens, I'm going to make a new collection, and I'm going to call this July 23rd, right? Today's the 23rd, July 23rd. Okay, and it's going to be inside, and it's not going to be inside of a collection set. So I'm going to uncheck that. Okay, so under Longwood Gardens, I will have a July 23rd. Okay, the reason there's a Longwood Gardens collection here is because I went to Longwood Gardens on New Year's Day. So that's my first set of pictures from this year. And now I'm going to have another set from today. So I'm going to create. Okay, so you're going to see a collection called July 23rd. Now, file renaming. This is what I love probably the most about importing my pictures into the Lightroom Classic import module is see how my file starts with DB2. Okay, DB for Dave Bleckman, 2 for my second Nikon D750 camera. I have 2 of them. So if I notice that I'm having issues with these pictures or there's a sensor spot on every picture in the same spot, I know which camera it came from. Okay, I can also look at the serial number later on in the metadata to know exactly what camera it came from. Okay, but DB2 doesn't mean anything to me. So I'm going to rename these files and I'm going to call them Longwood. Okay, and the first time I went to Longwood Gardens this year, which was happened to be New Year's Day, all the pictures started with number 1000. Being that this is the second time I'm there, I'm going to start with number 2000. So I can renumber these pictures. So let me just show you something. I can go with a custom name and a custom sequence. I can go with a custom name and the original file numbers if I want. I have all these choices. Okay, just so you know, custom name and sequence is the exact same thing as shoot name and sequence. Custom name and original file number is the same thing as shoot name and original file number. But I like to come up with a custom name, and I like my pictures to have a 4-digit number. So when I send pictures to my client, I can say to them, just give me the 4-digit number. Okay, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4. I like working in those 4-digit numbers. So what it's going to show you right here as a sample is my first picture. Once it's imported, it's going to be called Longwood 2000 NEF for Nikon electronic file. That's Nikon's RAW file. And then the next one will be 2001, 2002, all that stuff, okay? Now, apply during import, okay? Every camera lens has distortion and idiosyncrasies. And that's why I always recommend the first thing you do when you work on a picture in Lightroom or Lightroom Classic is to do lens correction and chromatic aberration correction. But I can have it done to all 625 pictures on the way in. So watch. Under Develop Settings, I'm going to scroll down to Optics, and I'm going to do Lens and Chromatic Aberration Correction. And every picture, all 625 pictures, as they're importing into Lightroom Classic, is going to do lens correction and chromatic aberration correction. Now, how much more time does it take? None. It doesn't take any more time. Okay, keywords. If I want to type in Longwood Gardens, I can. And later on, I can do a search. Be nice if I spell it right. I can do a search on Longwood Gardens. I can make another one for flowers, whatever. But not every picture is a flower. Okay, but they're all Longwood Gardens. So that's cool. I'll leave Longwood Gardens. Now, where do I want to put these pictures? Okay, So what I want to do is I want to put these pictures in my 2019-1 external hard drive. And the way my easy for me to say, my hierarchy works is on my drives, the first thing I'll have my main folder. And under my main folder, you'll see I have all documents and all photos. Under all photos, I have it all separated by year. 2019, 2020, so here's 2026. Under 2026, I have a folder called Locations. If I open up Locations, here's all the locations I've been to this year. I'm going to click on Longwood Gardens. And because the folder's already there, because I made it January 1st when I went to Longwood Gardens for the first time this year. Well, in this Longwood Gardens folder, I'm going to scroll back up. I'm going to put it into a subfolder called July 23. Okay, so if you look down here, and by the way, under here, I can organize it into a folder. So I can go into one folder, or I can organize it by date. I don't like to do date. I like to do into one folder. So now if I scroll down, it'll show me on my external hard drive, under all photos, 2026, locations, under Longwood Gardens is going to be another subfolder called July 23rd. Okay, so every picture that's going to be imported, nothing's imported yet. This is just the previews. And of course I can scroll down. Now you can uncheck them all. And let's say you didn't do a big shoot. You were playing around doing something for fun. You can uncheck them all. And then you can just check off the ones you want to bring in. Okay. Or you can check them all and just uncheck the ones you don't want to bring in, which again is a waste of time. You're better off doing that later. Okay. You can bring them in by capture time. You can bring them in by file name. You can bring them in by file type if you're shooting JPEG and RAW, maybe the same time. So I do by capture time. I want to keep it in chronological order. Okay. So you're going to see that on my external hard drive, under 2026, locations, Longwood Garden, there's going to be a new folder called July 23rd, and they're also going to go into a collection called July 23rd, okay? So we've pretty much done everything. We told it where we're going to put it. We told it what kind of previews we want. Let me just go back up to the top, okay? We're building standard previews. We're not importing suspected duplicates. Okay, we're not rejecting any images because we're not doing advanced calling and having it reject anything that's out of focus or blinks or thing. I haven't had a flower blink yet. I'm not making a second copy to anything because that's happening automatically. When I import my pictures to this external hard drive, it's automatically going to copy to a second external hard drive, so I don't have to make a second copy. I'm adding it to a collection. Okay, I'm renaming the file name. So they're all going to start with the word Longwood and starting with the number 2000 because this is the second time I went to Longwood Gardens this year. If I go another time this year, then that group is going to start with number 3000. And it's just my system. So I know that if a Longwood picture started with 2000, it was the second time I went this year. If the Longwood picture I happen to see starts with 1000, and it was the first time I went this year. Okay? So now that I have all that set, and again, you can pause this, rewind it, watch it as many times as you want. This video is not going to expire. It's going to stay up on YouTube. And now I hit import. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and click import. And now these were Longwood Gardens. These were some of the pictures from the first time I was at Longwood Gardens. But now this screen is now going to be replaced with the 625 pictures that I shot today. Now, are the pictures actually showing up in Lightroom Classic? No. The JPEG previews that popped up on the back of my camera every time I took one of those 625 pictures, that's what's loading into Lightroom. So my pictures, my actual RAW files, are going onto my external hard drive. And what's going to be loading in the library here, as you're going to see, are the JPEG previews that my camera made. So as you can see, all these pictures are now loading into Lightroom Classic in chronological order. It's being sorted by capture time, okay, from the first picture to the last picture. And then in a future video, I may show you a little bit of how I work on these pictures. So thank you for joining me for this edition. Oh, by the way, one more thing I want to show you before I leave. I have 2 slots remaining for the Spectacular Sedona Landscape Masterclass. This is going to be absolutely amazing. I mean, we're talking about some of the best locations in Sedona. There's going to be some classroom trainings. There's plenty of in-the-field trainings. There's going to be time to post-process and download your images. There's going to be downtime. It's going to be relaxing, but you will not leave the locations until I look at your previews on your camera and I make sure that you have a wall-worthy money shot. So nobody leaves the locations until I know and I can guarantee you that you have some incredible photography. And I'm going to teach you how to do some incredible landscape photography. I only have 2 slots left. And right now, for those 2 slots, $650 off. So go to my website, posneg.com, click on events up here. And then when you click on events, you're going to see this Spectacular Sedona Landscape Masterclass. Click on here, read all about it. What's included, I'm going to be buying dinner a couple of nights. So everything that's included is listed, okay? I'm going to take you from the airport, which is 2 hours away from Sedona. I will take you from the Phoenix airport to the hotel and back. If you're on my flight, you don't need to rent a car. You will be with me the entire week. I'll do all the driving. Kathy and I will both be doing the driving. So you're going to get airport transfers from the airport to the hotel and back, transportation during the workshop, a group welcome dinner, a group farewell dinner, group and one-on-one training in the field. We're going to sit down in the afternoon, you and me, privately, and I'm going to critique your images from the day to make you better for the next day. There's going to be post-processing trainings. So, and if you scroll down here, there's pricing, deposit, and a payment schedule, okay? Pay your deposit, which is $500. Pay your deposit by the end of the month, and you can make 2 more payments. You'll make one payment the end of July, and another payment September 1st. So you can split up your payments 3 times, 3 different payments, and up until the end of the month, so got less than 10 days, $650 off. So anyway, thanks for joining me for this edition of Free Weekly Wisdom. And it could be next week. It might be a Monday. It could be a Tuesday. It could be any day of the week. But every week, I'm going to post a free weekly wisdom video. So thank you for joining me. And while you're watching the video, or when you get done watching the video on YouTube, please leave a comment. You can do a thumbs up or a thumbs down. You can leave me a positive comment or a negative comment, whatever you want to do. But those comments is the feedback that I need to get better every week. So thanks for joining me. Take care.